record this. That way I got it for future generations. Still got a couple of minutes. Big plans for the weekend and all? No games this weekend since they're playing tonight? Everybody's free on Saturday?
Well,
We're going to Charlotte. That's cool. Going home or?
no, my the kicker from last year, Chandler.
Oh, that's cool. It's good. I see where we're 3.5 point favorites for this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The over under is like 50 or 54. I
It
think.
might be a pretty high game.
I think they're like saying 34 to 30 or something. See what happens.
Who do you have in Georgia, Tennessee?
Go Dogs.
I don't know. They're playing in Georgia, right? I think that's gonna be a slugfest, but their offense, Tennessee's offense is just on fire, man.
All right, they have us, yep. Winning by 3 points from Mac Ritter have us at 59.2%.
Yeah. We can run the ball.
Good.
Cam seems to like running down there, so hopefully.
Yeah.
Huh? 64. Is that why they didn't use them a whole lot last week? Because they're kind of, or Saturday, because they were,
You know.
didn't want to risk hurting them pretty well? Me either. I mean, don't get me wrong. The other guys are good runners.
Yeah.
But there's a reason Cam and Nate start. And Cam and Nate should get the majority of the work. And then the other guys kind of get the mop up, or hey, they need a breather, so you go in for a play or two, not a few plays here and there. So you didn't go? Thought you were gonna go. Yeah, all right, so anyway, the problems, I guess, went okay. Any issues with any of them? Okay, 5 is one I usually get a question on from everybody, so that was kind of what last class said, no, we got them all, and I'm like, okay, and we'll see. That's a good question. So let's take a look at that one first, since you guys brought that up. Okay, so if we look at it, I'm gonna move this up a little bit here. So if we look at it, we have a debt ratio, right? So our debt ratio, what's our debt ratio?
That's it.
How do we get debt ratio? What is that? Remember?
It's
Total debt over total assets or something like that? So the debt ratio, right? Total debt over total assets. We know that this is 0.57. Okay. Remember the equation I gave you, and I said, you might want to write this in your notes. This will come back and this is going to be good for you. And so remember this equation right here. Right? So basically, if we make it as simple as possible, okay, if this is 1, like we did before, the whole company, one company, then our debt ratio of that company is 57 cents. Then that means the equity is what? 0.43. Okay. That make sense? Make sense, that's it? Huh? Well, it's one company. Right, I mean, we could put as many numbers in there as we want, we can put any number in there, you can put 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever that is, but still 50%, 57% of our company is financed with debt. So that means 43% of our company is financed with equity, right? Okay, so then it asks you for your debt to equity ratio. So that is just debt to equity, and what is that ratio?
1.3256.
Okay, so what does that mean? Because remember, I said it's not, getting a number is one thing now. Now you gotta figure out what does the number mean? So what does a debt to equity ratio of 0.13 mean? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of pretty standard, right? So what does that tell us? What that means, go ahead.
They're growing, the businesses.
Oh, not necessarily. Not necessarily. But, and don't overcomplicate. The ratios are pretty basic and they pretty much are telling you, right? Debt to equity. What's equity? Ownership, right? So what this means is we're looking at the capital structure of the company, right? So for every dollar that you put into the ownership of your company, you borrowed $1.33. That's what that's telling. So it doesn't matter what numbers we put in there, Caitlin. Does that make sense? So you can put 5 million, whatever, this is just, and that's the one reason I try to make it as simple as possible. We could put any numbers we wanted to in there. The ratio is still the same, so if we make it as simple as possible, and that's why I gave you the dollar when we talked about it, what, in the last chapter, chapter 1? That's why I did it this way, to make it as simple as possible. So then it asks us, so is that good? Madison? Then. Okay, so then it asks us for what? What is our equity multiplier? So what's our equity multiplier here?
Total assets over total equity.
Yes, total assets over total equity, or 1 plus our debt to equity ratio. So our equity multiplier is 2.3256. Okay. So what is that? Again, look at it. Equity, which is what?
Ownership.
Ownership, multiplier. Right?
Is it saying like every dollar you put in generates $2.3 in assets?
Exactly. So by getting debt, right? So with the debt equity ratio, we said with every dollar that you put in, you borrowed $1.33, right? Well, if you put your dollar with the $1.33, now you got $2.33 in assets, right? So you put in $1, and the equity multiplier means by going out and getting debt, your $1 turned into $2.33 of assets. Your equity was multiplied by getting the debt. Does that make sense? Is that good? Madison? We good? All right. Good, all right, so that's a good start. So now that we're kind of warmed up, let's go back to the top and let's look at some of the ones up there and let's see how they go. Okay, so if we look at the first one, we have excuse me, net working capital, current liabilities, and inventory, and we want to know what is the current ratio current ratio is current assets over current liabilities. So if we look, I know my liabilities is 5,970. But I don't see anything on current asset.
Yeah,
You have net working capital and liabilities, so then you would just add the liability.
Yeah. Net working capital is current assets minus current liabilities, right? So I have net working capital, 2630. Current assets, current liabilities is 5970. So that makes current assets what?
8,600.
8,600. Okay, so if I put that up here, what is my current ratio?
0.7940.
No,
No,
so it's gonna be one something.
1.44 times, right, Nina? Okay, so what does that mean? And remember, I told you guys, you can't, doing the math is easy, great, I got this number. You gotta start thinking, what does this mean? What is this telling me about the company? So what is the current ratio?
That you have more assets than you do liabilities.
Yeah,
I know basically excellent.
yeah,
Is it a measurement of short-term liquidity?
yeah. That it is. So if we think about it this way, current liability, what you owe in the next 60 days to a year or something like that, right? Current assets, what you can turn to cash within that same amount of time. So what this means is for every dollar that you owe somebody, you have $1.44 in assets to cover that dollar. Does that make sense? Okay, then it asks us what's our quick ratio. So we look at the quick. And we know that's current assets minus inventory over current liability. So we have 8,600 minus 3860 divided by 5970. So my quick ratio then is what?
that's the 0.7940. I gave you the wrong number.
0.79. Okay. Oh. So what does that mean?
It means that they can only cover 79 cents of the dollar because you're taking inventory out, which isn't very.
Exactly. We don't know. Remember, we were talking about, I told you, we could analyze companies without knowing what they're doing or what they're in. So we don't know what this company does. We don't know what the inventory is. Is it the groceries that we talked about the other day? Is it the tractors that we talked about, right? So we want to take that out of the equation. Without the inventory, okay, they can only cover 79 cents of every dollar that they owe. But it also tells us something else about the company. What is that?
A lot of their assets are tied up in inventory.
Yeah, a lot of assets, current assets are tied up in inventory. Now, it's not surprising that a company has to sell inventory to make the bills. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? But it can tell you how dependent or how heavily they rely on that inventory. And look what happens. Our ratio drops by almost 50%. Right? So they're pretty stout on that. Boy, last year, everybody would have been clearing out. Is everybody good there? So you see what I mean by you got to start thinking, what is the number telling? Getting the number is easy. What is it telling you? That's where you've got to start putting some brain energy. Okay, come on. There we go. All right. I know. All right, let's look at the next one then. So we have sales of 14.2 million, total assets of 11.3, total debt of 4.9, 5% profit margin. They want to know what is net income. So how are we going to get net income?
Multiply the sales by the profit.
Yeah. sales times profit margin. Okay, so we got 14.2 times 0.5. What's our net income? Okay, 710,000. Okay, then it asks us for what is ROA? ROA is net income over total asset. So we got the 710. We got total assets of 11.3 million. So ROA is what?
.28%.
Okay. All right, so what does that tell me?
At 6.28% return on every dollar. spent on an asset.
When you say return, what do you mean? Because remember, what is net income? Let's go back to, go back to net income. What is that? What is the profit margin?
What kind of business you have?
Yeah. Okay. And so when we look at this, look at the equation, net income to total assets, right? So this tells us for every dollar that we invested into assets, what are our assets? Cash, accounts receivable, inventory, property, plant, equipment, right? So every dollar we invested into that is generating 6 cents of net income. Not sales, net income. Okay. Is that good or bad? Depends. What's the company, what's the industry average? What's our competition looking like? That's what we'd have to compare it to, okay? We don't know anything other than what we got here. So then it asks for ROE, okay? We know that's net income over total equity. So we got the net income. But I look and I don't have equity. So now what?
You can get the equity. Like going back to assets equal liabilities plus equity.
Yeah.
To add the,
Whoops.
subtract
Yeah, total assets equals total debt plus total equity, right? We got the asset, or we got the assets of 11.3 million. We got debt of 4.9. So then total equity then equals what? 6.4. Okay. So what's ROE here?
7.0.
Okay. So again, I ask you, what does that mean?
The equity is responsible for 11% of net income.
Kinda.
Or increase of equity, you get 11% of your net income.
Not 11%. Think about it. We've been breaking everything down to the most basic level, right? So put it on a dollar basis, okay? So for every dollar that we have invested into the company, the ownership, because remember, equity is ownership, right? So Jeff, this is how much money you personally have invested into your company, right? So for every dollar that you put in, what's your return?
11 cents.
11 cents. Okay, so remember, your assets are generating 6.4 cents of net income for every dollar you invested in assets. Okay, now why is the return on assets lower than return on equity? Because we borrowed money, went out and got debt, and we had an equity multiplier, right? Okay. So for every dollar that you invested, you're getting 11 cents back, is what that means. Again, is that good, bad? I don't know. You got to look at the industry average, look at what industry you're in, and things like that, okay? Is everybody good? Does that make sense? Okay. So, and the reason this is important, guys, is because in some of the next coming chapters, you're gonna be making decisions based on some of these numbers that you're gonna get. So you gotta understand, you know, what is this starting to tell me? What's the big picture getting to be? Okay? All right, let's look at number 3 then. So we have accounts receivable. So we have accounts receivable, 513,260 credit sales. They want to know what's accounts receivable turnover. Okay. And what is that?
Sales over accounts receivable.
Yeah, sales over AR, right, accounts receivable. Okay, so 4,986,340 over 513,260. So our accounts receivable turn is what?
9.715.
Times, right? So what does that one mean, Jackson?
That one means that your receivables turnover 9.71. I.
There you go. You gave me what we got on the street, right? So when we think about accounts receivable, what's accounts receivable?
We've lent money or someone owes us for our business.
Yeah. So in essence, you've sold something and you haven't collected on it. So you gave somebody a loan, right? So what this number tells you is basically how many times have you loaned your money out and gotten it back during the course of a year? Or whatever time, mostly it's a year, whatever time frame this is. So that means you've loaned money out and collected it almost 10 times, 9.7 times, right? Now, obviously, we don't loan it and go, hey, you know, Christian, I can't loan you money until Brandon pays me his money. You know, we're loaning to Brandon and loaning to Christian, and you're both paying me back, and then I'm loaning to JC and Tyler, and they're paying me back. So it's constantly coming in and out. But if you wanted to look at it on the most basic level, it's I loaned it out. Don't have anything to loan out, I collect it, and then I loan it out again, and I do that 9.7 times during the year. Okay,
And it's a ratio, doesn't matter the amount, you just are usually about 9 times when you're right now. I forget what would be just the entire.
it just means that we've loaned money out and collected it 9 times.
Okay.
Okay, but then it asks us for how long will it take? So then we look at days in receivable. Right? So we take 365 divided by our terms. So 365 divided by 9.71. How many days?
37.57.
Okay, so or roughly 38 days, right? So what does that tell me?
Geez, I think I got this one. Okay, so. Days sales and receivable, the number of days from sales to receiving cash.
Yeah, so we said it takes 9, you know, we're doing that 9 times, we're loaning money out and collecting roughly 9 times a year, right? So that means it's taking us 38 days to collect the money that I loan out. Is that good?
I would say so, if it's about 30 days to get something back, 38 days. Because usually, if it's an invoice, I'm thinking, not in the middle of it, sending an invoice out and getting payment within, you know, the first 30 to 60 days is pretty good. You prefer it not to be able to.
Okay, Jackson, you said it depends.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Could be a larger amount they have to repay you, they might have to, you know, pull from multiple sources to get the money to pay you back.
Okay, let me ask you guys this question. How often do you have to pay your bills?
Every month.
Every month. Well, we're not collecting them. So now whose money are we using around the company?
Other people's.
Well, we're using our own. right? If you have to pay every month, but you're not collecting but every 38 days, that's over, right? So in essence, you're using your money to float your customers for a week, 8 days. Now, it depends on your stuff, but I mean. If you let somebody, you guys have roommates, once you guys live on campus, right? And if you're responsible for paying the rent on the first of the month, but your roommates don't pay you till the 8th of the month. Basically, you're floating them for a week, those 8 days, right? So maybe we need to look at trying to get that money in faster. So we're using our customers' money to pay our bills. I don't know, it depends on what the business is and what your arrangements are. But in essence, that's what's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Questions there? Yes, sir.
The balance, I mean, does the balance sheet like quarterly, do you still use 365?
Yeah, because you're looking at how many days it's out there. Yeah, because, I mean, even if you did a quarter, you still want to know how many days is it taken for somebody to pay us back?
Yeah.
You know, because like, depending on what you set up with your suppliers, now, if your suppliers are, hey, I'll pay you every 60 days. Well, that's fine, you're collecting within that period, but once a month, you still got to pay your mortgage, your utilities, your, all those, you know, you have other bills that are monthly. So that's where it's like, what's the situation, you know, dude? Yeah.
And while you're racing, I was looking at the questions here, assuming the stupid question, with the third question there, just how long it take to average for credit customers, such as the day sales and receivable ratio, just 38 days, since you don't have a partial day.
Yeah, so what's day sales and receivable, how long does it take? 38 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day sales and receivables.
Yeah, I don't know why they put that up, because it's the
Tell the exact ratio, and like, oh, I'm just take,
same thing.
I was just reading, I was like, well,
Let's look at the fourth one then. So we talked about inventory, okay, so we have that, we have inventory of that number, cost of goods of this number, we want inventory turnover. Okay. Inventory turnover is what? Cost of goods sold divided by inventory, right? So we have 4,738,216 divided by 426,287. So what's our inventory turn? $11.12 times. All right, you know what question's coming. There you go. You guys are figuring it out.
or is it a gauge or something?
Man, the lineman back there is getting it, so it can't be that. No, I'm sorry, the long snapper's getting it, you know, so I mean, come on. So what does that mean?
You sell your inventory 2 times in a year.
Yeah, we restock our shelves and we sell out 11 times a year. Now, do we obviously wait to sell out everything? No, it's a constant flow, but I mean, if you want to look at it in the pure sense is that, hey, we sell out and restock 11 times. Okay, you guys know the 80-20 rule?
How about beef?
For insurance?
Beef?
Beef? What? I just said the 80-20, what are you talking about with beef?
80% like meat, 20% fat. That's the deal ratio.
Yeah.
I need to go a little leaner. I'm like the 90-10, because I don't, you know, I don't want my hamburgers to shrink up like your BBS. I'm going to coincidence today, bro. It's not.
I forget.
What's the 80-20? It's kind of similar to what you're saying. Right? It's kind of similar to what you were saying about the beef, the 80-20 rule, very similar.
You pay 20% of your co-insurance?
No. 80% of your sales come from 20% of your product. Right? 80% of your work gets done by 20% of your employees. Think about it. How do you guys like group project? Why? It's funny, all you guys are saying there's always that one person, but I look around and. You know. That means some of you guys are the other 80% and some of you are 20%, if we take that. No, so when we're looking at this, I mean, the 80-20 rule, so think about, when you go to the grocery store, don't you usually buy about the same thing every time, unless maybe you're having a special meal? And then you buy something different? You know, you got milk, butter, eggs, bread. Lunch, cheese, peanut butter and jelly. You know, we go buy meat, it's hamburger, pork, chicken. Every now and then I'll buy salmon, but you know, we always have those staples because that's, you can do just about anything, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's not like we're going to the grocery store and it's like, hey, Christian, so you buy those, that last can of refried beans, we can't restock the 80-20 beef. We keep that in stock and all that, right? Okay. So then the next thing, obviously, what was that?
I hate recovering.
So then it says, now we're looking at days in inventory, right? So if we look at the next part, 365 divided by 11.12, so how many days? 33 days, okay? So. What next?
Every 33 days.
You restock everything.
Yeah, in essence, we restock, sell out every 33 days, right?
That means
Okay.
definitely one that.
The other thing, the other way to look at this is if we had a supply chain disrupt, something were to happen, right? We're getting ready to have winter time. At 421 and 321 and 105 got blocked by snow. In 33 days, Chris, you wouldn't be able to go get your 80-20 B because it would all be gone.
Well, the chest breathing?
No, he goes here. Okay, so that's what they said, days in inventory, or days mean, okay? You're either buying or you're selling completely out that many times, or if your supply chain is disrupted, that's how long you'd be in business. That makes sense? Okay. All right, cool, so let's see, what other, let's see. All right, we did 5. Okay, so 6, I should have taken that off for you. Let's see. But let's do 7. This is a DuPont identity equation. Okay, so if we look at 7, they want us to use the DuPont identity. What's the DuPont identity? Do you remember?
That is three things multiplied.
ROE is sale or net income over sales times sales over total assets times total assets over total equity. What is sales, net income over sales? What is that? Profit margin. Sales over total assets.
Total asset turnover.
Total asset turnover times total assets over total equity. Equity multiplier. Okay, do you remember what this helps us analyze? What's profit margin help us analyze?
What we're making.
Yes, how much we're making, but it helps us analyze a certain part of our business, Massive. Not necessarily what, well, yes, yeah, we did say what type. High volume, low margin, or low volume, high margin. What types of decisions are reflected here, though? This is going to be management type decisions.
Give us what part of the company's driving.
Yeah. What about this? What does this one analyze? This is operating efficiency. Okay, what about this one? This is financing. Finance, okay? So we can look at management, we can look at operations, and we can look at finance with this. Now, remember, if sales cancels out, we have net income over total assets, what does that equal? That's ROA, right? And then that cancels out, and you're back to the initial ROE equation. Okay? So we're using this equation, and it says, all right, we got an equity multiplier 1.43, we have a total asset turnover of 187, and we have a profit margin of 605, so what's ROE? 16.18%. Now, folks, what do we have to do here?
Convert the percentage to a decimal.
And I'm gonna tell you, that's where a lot of students, whoops, 0.5. Students will forget to do that, and they'll just multiply that 605 instead of moving the decimal. Okay,
So, hang on. If this profit margin is 6.05, so you need to move the decimal place to 0.065, because the margin is a.
yeah, it's a percent. Yeah.
The other two are ratios.
Mhm. Yeah. Is everybody good? Make sense? Yeah, kind of, you guys being kind of quiet back there. Keeping their head low, they don't want to be like Christian. All right, 8's similar, so I think you guys got it good there. Let's look at 9. Decrease in inventory, 425, is that a source or use? Source. Okay, decrease in accounts payable, 230. Use. Increase in notes payable, 280. Source. Okay, increase in accounts receivable. Use, okay. So if we were doing a statement of cash flows, do we have a net source or a net use? Net source. Everybody good there? Okay. All right. Let's see. Enterprise value, I should have taken that out. You guys didn't need to do that one. Let's look at 12. So the company has a debt to equity ratio of 0.63, a return on assets of 8.4%, total equity of 645,000. So they want to know, what is the equity multiplier here? What is equity multiplier?
So, well, first we need to get the, total assets and the ones we've got, so I can move the wrong assets.
Do we? How else do we get equity multiplier?
You could do, oh, we do the 1 plus.
1 plus our debt to equity ratio, so it's just 1.63. Remember, there's 2 ways to get the equity multiplier, right? What is ROE? So we need ROE. ROE is net income over total equity. Okay. We have total equity is 645,000. So how are we going about getting ROE?
Couldn't use software and then income through the ROA equation.
Yeah. So, ROE, yeah, so we need net income. What is net income, right? So first we need to get net income, so we go ROA, right? How are we gonna go about doing it?
You just use like generic numbers, to get- or like. If it's 8.4%. Then if you had like a million in total assets. That'd be 84,000.
Well, we can get total assets, because we have total equity, so, because we could do the one.
I put that up there, but folks, look. Looking at the DuPont equation, how do we get ROE? ROE equals ROA times equity multiplier. Right?
Oh,
So we have ROA 0.084 times 1.63. So ROE equals what? Remember, I said you'd have to know that equation inside and out. So what's ROE?
37.
Yeah. Okay. 13.69%. So now that we have ROE, now we need net income. So now we know that 0.1369 equals net income over total equity, right? So 0.1369 equals net income over 645. So that net income then equals what?
88,300.5.
325,
300. Oh, I got it.
300?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so folks, I want you to be ready, because on the exam, it's not gonna be like problems 1 and 3, where it's like calculate quick ratio, current ratio and quick ratio, and here's your numbers. It's gonna be more like this. You're gonna have to use the ratio. You might have to use one ratio to find a piece to another ratio to get the answer. Okay, so this is what you need to be prepping yourselves for. And the thought process that you need to be thinking about, okay? All right, everybody good there? Okay, all right, let's see. The standardizing, we're not gonna do that on the exam, you guys won't have time if I have you do all that stuff. 17 was just calculating those ratios using the spreadsheet. Now, I may, on the exam, I do give you the income statement, balance sheet stuff, you have to pull numbers off of that. Okay. Huh? So let's go to, so 17, any issues there, you're just pulling it off the statement, those are pretty straightforward. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see how you think. 21. In response to complaints about high prices, a grocery chain runs the following advertising campaign. If you pay your child $1.25 to buy $50 worth of groceries, your child makes twice as much on the trip as we do. You collected the following information from the grocery store financial statement. Evaluate the grocery store chain's claims. What's the basis for the statement? Is this claim misleading? Why or why not? Okay, so how are we going to analyze their claim?
You have to find the profit margin first.
Okay, so we got to look at, Tyler says look at profit margin. Okay, so let's put the kid over here. And profit margin is net income over sales, right? So $1.25 over 50. So what's the profit margin? What? 2.5. Okay. 2.5%. Okay, there you go, actually. So then we do the store over here, right? Net income 8, whoops. Okay, 8.5, sales are 680. So what's their profit? Okay. So. Obviously, they're correct. Right? Did we just prove it?
At least-
Okay. What do you think? So what's the basis for the statement? Profit margin. Is this misleading? By the way, folks, there's more than just a finance lesson here. Especially around election time. Could be a life lesson stuck in this thing. Madison, what are you thinking? You gotta look like. I'm trying to read your facial expression. I'm not sure if I want to or not, or what you're thinking. Go ahead. Frank.
Okay, so I took that number, the 0.125, and I 0.0125, and I times 550, and I got 62.5 cents, and that's like exactly what the kids making. Or wait, no, wait, where did I get that? Okay, so 62.5 cents for $50 of sales. And sorry, I'm trying to read my scribbles. And
Anybody want to help them out?
yeah, no.
You did the profit margin, so we got that, right? Is that right? It's obviously correct, right?
The return on assets, if you do that, it is 2.2%.
Okay, if we look at return on assets, so you did net income over total assets? Okay, so what does return on assets tell us? You did ROA, right? Net income over total assets. So you did 8.5 over 380 and you got what?
Point or 0.0.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. So for every dollar in assets, I get 2 cents. Okay. Is that? What should we be looking at? What do we want to look at? Because what do we say about profit margin? What does profit margin tell us?
Pretty much how much of a dollar you sell, you keep.
How much of each dollar we get to keep, right? But we said it, what else did it tell us? It tells us something else. Tells us what type of business we're in, right? Whether we're in a high volume, low margin, or low volume, high margin. Are we Ruth Chris or are we McDonald's? That's what profit margin tells us, right? We know the grocery store, it's low margin. How does a grocery store make money? They sell a lot, right? They get trucks every day. Why do they get trucks? Because they're selling a lot of stuff, right? Okay. So is profit margin necessarily the best thing to look at? Why not?
Because since they have so many items, they are going to have. They're going to have the low margin on sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They got the 80-20 beef that Christians and such a fan of, right? There you go. So what should we be looking at?
What is the debt equity ratio?
Not necessarily, because that just tells you what's their ratio to money they put into debt. Right? Work on business. Who in business? As a business owner, what are we interested in? Yes. So, I mean, if I'm going into the grocery business, I know my profit margin is going to be low. That's not a surprise. If it is, you probably didn't look at your business plan. Right? So we look at return on equity, and why do we look at ROE? Because that's the money, that's the return on the money you have invested, right? Okay, so we look and we got 8.5, we got the net income, but lo and behold, I don't have an equity. So what do I need to do now?
Subtract the debt from the assets to get the.
Yeah. So I know total assets is 380, total debt is 270. So total equity then is what? 110, okay? So what's that now?
7.73%.
7.73%. Okay, so really, for every dollar that you invested into your grocery store, you're getting 7 and almost 8 cents back. So really, you're doing 3 times better than you. Right? So is it misleading? Because it's the truth, I mean, the number's a number, right? We need truth and facts out there. Could be interesting. What's that like, Ashley? Okay. So is it, in a way, is it misleading? No, because it is the truth. Profit margin is profit margin. Yes, because as business owners, we know the profit margin going in. That just tells us what type of business we're. We're more worried about what's the return on every dollar I invested in the company. Okay. There you go. All right. What other ones did I get? I think I gave you up 26. 26 is just, folks, I'll be honest with you, that's just practicing your ratios. Here, calculate everyone you get. You're pulling that off the statements there, so that's just plug and play. Okay. Number 7's doing a DuPont equation on that. Any questions on those? Is everybody good? Any questions on any of it? One more time, that's what? On question, on one? Well, if the quick ratio is closer to the current ratio. So like if you're a service industry, right? So if you're a consultant, think about it. Do you have much inventory as a consultant? No, because what's your inventory? Your knowledge and your so service industries in that regard wouldn't have a whole lot of inventory. Now, service industries like a mechanic shop and stuff, yeah, because they've got mufflers and all those parts. So if you're, so what you're looking at there, you're just looking at how close. So if your current ratio, okay, so that was what, 1.44, and then the quick was 0.79. Well, if the quick ratio was say 1.2, then they aren't relying on a lot of inventory to pay their bills, right? So the further these are apart is kind of the more reliant you are on inventory. And again, that's not a bad thing because most businesses that sell a product rely on that. I mean, that's how you make money. So you got to sell the inventory to pay your bill. But if you were to look at like we said, a consulting business, you got your laptop, you got your letterhead and your business cards. You're going in and telling people how to run their business better. Hey, you're too much in inventory or whatever, right? So if we look at your current ratio and quick ratio, they'd be almost, they would either be identical or very close. You know what I'm saying? So and again, I can kind of tell that by, if I don't know anything about the company and I saw that I'm looking at Madison's consulting or whatever, I'm just looking at Madison Inc. and I see, hey, her current ratio is 1.5 and her quick ratio is 1.49. Then you're in a business that doesn't have a lot of inventory. So you're probably in a service type of business or something like that. Does that make sense? That's why I said you can tell a lot about the company just by looking at the numbers, even if you don't know jack about the company. What do the numbers tell? Well, if you don't need inventory to sell to pay your bills, then you're not in a product selling business. You're in maybe a more service oriented business. Does that get your question? I want to make sure I'm clear that up. Yes.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
For the receivables for our equation, for
Yeah.
sales, will we ever be given like an allowance for doubtful accounts or anything like that? And not the,
Would you get what?
like an allowance for doubtful accounts, like we can subtract that from sales.
No, you're gonna be given a balance sheet and an income statement.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna work on. Okay. So. No game this weekend since they're playing tonight. Hopefully they pick some up. So for Tuesday, you got your quiz for chapter 4. Okay, now when we talk about chapter 4 is a short chapter. It's planning and growth and things like that. I'll be honest with you, the math part is in the last part of the chapter. There's really not much math in it at all, except for 2 things, internal growth and sustainable growth. Okay, the rest of it's kind of more like chapter 1, more kind of info stuff. So make sure you read the chapter and take that quiz for Tuesday. Have a great weekend and I'll see you all then. I'm getting ready to pop it right now. I might do it now. I can't remember. Yeah, I got Ed to run up. So I'll put the quiz in right now. I meant to do it earlier. I got here late this morning. So